thought when it's on.
Yes and no. If it's no copyright music, yes, because you're gonna have problem with YouTube. You're gonna lose the video. I had that issue.
Yeah, it's okay. I don't mind that for the time being. I'm not really looking to get anything off of it right now because I'm not depending on YouTube for finances.
I
It's
know,
okay.
but it will damage your reputation for the future.
Let's hope it doesn't. Any case, I'm
It
just
will.
I don't worry about it. It's okay. Don't worry about it. We're
But
already
there's a
live
lot of no
anyway.
copyright radio, online, whatever on YouTube. So you next time make sure you look for it.
Hopefully, yeah. But any case, we'll go ahead and shift our attention to live stream now. So I don't really have any documents I will give people only because it's up to you how you want to design it. This is just a sample. So we're looking at here, and I'm just double checking as well that.
Yeah, they are the templates from Office.
Yep, definitely. So I'm just gonna show how people can get a hand of it. I go to more templates here, and then we type in resume, whatever. They also have other options.
What version is this? 2019 or 16
Uh,
or
Let me.
365?
I believe this is 365. I think.
Alright, so you pay a fee for it.
For me, it was free only because, like, how to explain it? Because I'm a student.
Educator.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
education. Yeah. So since
Yeah.
I'm working as a student right now, that's probably why I can't really tell what it is. Let me see.
It's not there. It is in options
Options.
here. An account or options. Yeah, that's where it is.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah.
I don't know if they have it
The
in
other one account then.
account then.
Yeah,
What
because
was
that's where
that?
I do the updates account, and it will
Oh, it's
tell you exactly
365.
what it is.
Yeah,
365 app
yeah.
for
If
enterprise.
Yeah, only because like the only reason I have this is mainly because at my school they pay for
Mm-hmm.
they pay for their students so they get free access to Microsoft with the account
Yeah,
they
I know,
have.
I know.
Yeah, so that's how I have access to these, and I'm sorry, but it
All right,
doesn't
so you have
matter.
the latest. Yeah,
Yeah,
so you have the latest. That's good.
yeah, that's okay though. So in any case, you can find free formats of cover letters and resume online as well. You can find it
Yeah,
on
I
Google.
know. My
Yeah,
problem is gonna be that I have to translate from Romanian to English. So
right. Okay.
I'm
So
not gonna use the preset.
yeah, it's all right. Let me double check first. There's so many things going on right now. So
Anna, do you have a microphone? I know how to say it in Portuguese. Sorry. You could talk with us at any moment. You could ask us things.
yes, and welcome to another student. I think that's Rima.
Yeah.
Welcome. Um, yeah, sounds good. Okay,
Hey, Rima.
welcome everyone. I need to turn off my phone because everyone's suddenly spamming me at this time. Um, but any case, welcome everyone. We're covering about business English. This would be my first class for it, and it's also the first time I ever taught business English. Since I'm usually the conversation teacher and grammar teacher. And so we'll just go straight to the point. So I'm just showing you guys a template. If you have Microsoft 365, you don't have to. It's not mandatory because Microsoft is so expensive and it's honestly not worth it. I wouldn't buy it. But they do have these template ideas, and I just want you to look at them as just a reference, which is why I'm sharing my screen with you guys. So it's just look at how they design it. Um, a lot of the new ones, especially, they have pictures like included, but previously they didn't have stuff like that. So probably you'd see something. The most common ones would be like these ones, like accounting resume. It doesn't have to look like that. But it really depends. I think it also depends on what job you're applying for because I think the design of your resume kind of matters. At the same time, I don't know, mainly because I applied with a resume that has my picture on it and it looks a little bit more standoffish as a teacher, educator. So, like, this one would be an example of a professional one. I'll show you mine. It's very creative, and I created it that way because I want my resume to show you my personality as someone who's creative, etc. So, but for the most part, it would look something like this, like a student resume. I'm just gonna pop it up and see if it pops up. Yeah. So something like this, and let me double check. Let me change this here. 1 second. I just realized on my stream it didn't capture what the heck I was doing. It's okay. Um, this one. Document 2. Okay, there. So hopefully there. you get to see this new screen here. Um, so of course this one is nice because they show you how to do a resume, etc. It's kind of straightforward. It tells you what to do here. It gives you a short objective and how to add these stuff. Um, a lot of the times, there's always been chronological order is one of the number one things they're looking at in resume. So either you start with, let's say, the present day and then going backwards, or start with your earliest memory and then going up to today being the last one. So chronology is very important. If you keep switching the chronological order, it just looks a little bit unprofessional, and it shows that you didn't care enough to double check your work. So that is very dangerous. So make sure whenever you create your resume, you double check everything you rewrote. Have a friend take a look at it if your brain doesn't function any longer. Because if you spend time writing something and looking at it for 5 hours straight, I'm pretty sure when you start looking at words, you're like, how do I spell this again? Does this look correct? Even happens to me, so don't worry about that. All right, I'm gonna show you guys my resume so you guys can get an idea of how it should be formatted. I made sure earlier before I started the class, which is why I came in a little bit late and I'm starting a little bit late as usual, because I need to cover some sensitive information. I do not want to be stalked or prank called or emailed. Um, so of course I'm being careful about that. Let me first change my stream window and jump to my resume assignment. And then meanwhile here, you see this right here. So as you guys can see, this is my resume. It's very it's very creative. If you even zoom out, you actually get to see the format of it. So my name, my position. So here a lot of resumes, you have the option to add to show like the title, like what are you trying to teach or what job are you trying to get at, right? Um, So here I wrote my position as an ESOL educator because there's different names. You can say teacher. Um, some places might be sensitive on the words you use. So, for example, if I say teacher, you're kind of expecting to be someone who teaches from kindergarten up to middle school, high school. If I put instructor, that tells me that I am probably in high school, probably. Um, ish. It kind of gives off that vibe for me, at least, like high school to college level. If you write professor, that's exclusively for college, um, and so on and so forth. So as you can see, if I just say educator, it kind of gives this broad range idea that I'm a teacher, and it can be anywhere. So educator is kind of like the general rule of thumb that a lot of teachers are learning to use. So that's why there's some companies might be sensitive about word choices. That's just a note. If not, then don't worry too much about this. It just depends on them more than you. So of course, my second thing I added here was slash tutor because I can be a tutor or a teacher. Great. So depending on the format, there will always be the main ideas will always be the same here. You will always be asked what education history do you have, what work experiences do you have, and then this one I added here because it's optional. It doesn't have to be there, but because I had this much space here available, Rima, if you can, just make sure to lower your volume or mute yourself because I don't want people to get distracted, and I'm sorry, and that's totally fine too. So here, when you go to, okay, so as I was saying, if I had deleted this, it would be a little bit awkward because then you would see it like this, right? And then I have this much space. What could I put there? I could probably use any of these things and move over there just so it balances out. So, sorry, there you go. So here, as you noticed, um, I decided I'm gonna fill the space and put volunteer. It can be anything. So if you'd like, you can even talk about your awards, which a lot of the CVs ask for. If you have volunteers, that's perfect. I know there's a lot of people who might be entry level workers. That means you don't have a lot of experience. Then you might have a resume that has more volunteers than you do work experience, etc. So there would also be a section where it says your skill level, so you can say what skills you know. So for example, I use all of these fancy words here, showing what my personality has and what assets I can incorporate into my job. So for example, being open minded is good, specifically for ESOL and educator, because you want to have a teacher who's very understanding. And if I don't list on that I'm open minded, they kind of want this expectation that this is your personality, etc. Students would feel more happy to read that they have a teacher who's open minded too. So let's say a student's like, since I work as a freelancer, some students might even ask for my resume just to see what kind of person I am, etc. It's pretty rare, but no one does that all the time. So they want to see these stuff like, what's my personality? So your resume, your CV, whatever you call it, you want to show that this is the kind of person you are, and that's really really important because by showing this, this shows your professional your professional image and your professional personality. So that's very important. Um, this is also known as your brag sheet. A lot of people don't like to brag, and it can be a little bit embarrassing to brag and say um, things about yourself, and you sound kind of vain. For resume, brag, please, just brag. Brag as much as you can about yourself. Do it in a very humble way, of course, but you want to present yourself as someone who's good enough to take this job, and that they should choose you, and that like kind of funny saying like, if you don't choose me, then it sucks that your company is not going to do well if you don't have me, kind of like that a little bit. But at the same time, it's not really your problem if they pick you, if they don't, it's whatever. um so yeah, I'll go ahead and go in the nitty gritty details of this. A lot of your education, they want to know if you are in college, if you are in university. So that one's very crucial. So if you have attended a university, that gives them more points. It shows that you have an education, you worked hard for a bachelor's. If you do not have a college degree, that's okay. You can go ahead and write about your high school. But please do not write about your elementary or middle school. No one wants to know about that. It's not important for education. And also, I think given the circumstance of our time, anyone who has a degree under middle school, it's not going to fare pretty well in jobs that require like some specific task or skill. So I think for the most part, I personally don't see anyone ever mentioning their middle school, not unless it's a practice assignment from a course. So let's say they give you an assignment, you have to make a CV, and you need to write about your schools and stuff. That's okay for those assignments, but in real life application, no, you don't ever do that. So stick to high school being your highest and your most um, available if you can. But as you can see, my education list here is pretty full. So I try to limit it. I try to limit it up to two, maybe maximum three. I try not to put as much for my education because no one really cares to look at that until, well, they just only care to see what is your highest form uh, of knowledge. So for me, we're gonna go ahead and zoom in so you guys can get to see this. My highest or present at the moment is my master's degree, which is what I'm currently working towards at the moment. That's why I listed here August 2020 to May 2022. I've had a question before, and also I asked this question in class a long time ago. Is it okay to write about your graduating class if you haven't completed it? The answer is yes. You're more than welcome to. Just as long as the company knows that there is a deadline that you know that you are going to finish at a certain time. So if you're in high school and you say you're graduating 2021 and you are a junior or a senior right now, then the job will still hire you because let's say you're 17 and you are at a permitted age that you can work. So as a result, you're welcome to write that on your resume, and then usually the job will take you in as long as you're 17 or 18. Or, I say or because it depends where you're from, because the age for children or like non-adults to work or minors to work is here in California. It's usually 16, 17. So I think 17 might be the best number I will stay at. 16 is kind of iffy because they do ask for parental signature. Is it okay for you to let your child work at this location, etc.? Because I have worked with kids or well, young adults who are 17, 18 years old before. Um, so that's one of the things there. You're welcome to write, yeah. So like, bottom line is, if you want to say that you're working on a degree and you haven't finished it yet, that's fine. You can talk about it here because they just want to know if you're active in school or not. Here, I've already graduated, so here, literally last semester, I wrote that I got my bachelor's degree in English Ed, emphasis in language and linguistics, and a minor in TESOL. If you have your GPA, they recommend you post it if it's something worth bragging. So for me, saying I have 3.65 GPA because the highest form of GPA in the California Institutes is a 4. So I got 3.65. So as a result, we have a Latin honors called cum laude. So these are honors for students who have a 3.5 to 3.74 GPA. You have magna cum laude for 3.75 to 3.8 or 3.85 or 84. And then you have summa cum laude, which is the highest of highest intellects in the group, which is a 3.85 to 4.0 GPA. So I am not gonna ever be a summa cum laude, and I'm just saying that out loud because cum laudes and Latin awards are only explicitly for bachelor's degree. So if I repeat myself taking a bachelor's degree, I can probably get myself another Latin award if I felt like it. But to be honest with you, I'm not gonna do it. Like I'm not gonna spend another 2 years getting my or like 2 to 3 years getting another degree. So I'm good. I'm just gonna stick with my master's. So moving on here, the last one here. This is my fault because I totally forgot. Um, I kind of noticed belatedly because I forgot to write the dates for each one, and that's my fault. So as you can see here, because of the fact that I forgot to do that, it's a huge oopsies, and I can get in trouble for it. So making sure everything's good. So what I'm missing here is the year that I have started the program. So I started in August 2018, and I graduated May 2020. And then this one, August 2015. Actually, did I? When did I start? June, July, June, July. I started in July 2015 to May 2018. No, 2017. There you go. So that's a big oopsie on my part, and I probably need to update that for all of my resumes because I messed that up. Good job, me. This is why I told you guys you have to have someone else look at your resume instead of you because you can get so tired and you forget that you missed out something. Have someone double check it. And because I was tired, I spent like 10 hours creating this resume. It's not supposed to take that long for you, FYI. It only took that long for me because I was designing everything. So that was the hard part. And if you ever decide about designing your resume, please do it on Photoshop. Save yourself the trouble. I did the design here on Microsoft Word, which is why it was such a pain in the butt, and that's why it took me so long to make this resume. So, without further ado, just going back to topic here. If you notice what I mentioned earlier, that there is a chronological order that you guys want to focus on, this is my recent. This is my graduation, like last semester, and in the years before that, and of course this one going backwards to May 2017 to 2015. And again, if you have a noteworthy score that you'd like to brag about, this is probably gonna bother me because I have to do that. There you go. With the lines. So with the design here, I'm trying to keep it consistent. So you want consistency, you want it to be clear, you want to be straight to the point. And they always ask you what your degree is here. Name your emphasis and minor if it's available. And that's about it, I would say, for these two. And again, going here, I wrote that I have an honors because in my this is even before my undergrad program. So way before my undergraduate program, this is probably the prerequisite. So before you get into your bachelor's pathway, they just left it as this. So I just put honors. They didn't give me anything fancy like this. So yeah, it's okay. Um, so now moving on, you probably might notice in some CVs or resumes, maybe the work experience will be up here first and then education follows after. Honestly, it really doesn't matter the order of your resume. As long as these tabs are available there, you should be fine, right? At least they just see everything. So work experience, I have plenty. When you get yourself a lot of work experiences, you need to be very selective on which ones you want to bring up to your resume because you want to choose the jobs that give you the skill that the company is looking for and what they're hiring you for. So in some cases, there will be jobs where it has a gigantic year gap and people, and your, of course not people, your boss may, or the interviewer might ask you, how come there's a huge gap between these two work times, for example. So here, um, let me see. This one's okay. Yeah. So notice here. Let me see. I have my pen too, so I might as well just draw. Okay. I'm excited whenever I get to use my drawing pad. So notice here in this section that it says here August 2017, right? And then this one, I finished my job here at 2018. So between, oh, sorry, not this one. Um, so here between January 2018, and this should have been 2018 because I flubbed this. And I didn't even notice this was a capital I. Is that a capital I? Did it? It is not supposed to be capital I. But I think they flubbed it too, so yeah, it doesn't matter. So the I here is broken, unfortunately. And let me go ahead and check this here again. So there's a difference between these gaps. So January 2018 and August 2018 here. You did notice all my mistakes, yes? So that's why, again, please have someone else double check it, because I had someone double check and they said it looked fine and they also missed a detail. Look for someone who's very attentive to detail to make sure that you got your years right, nothing's out of the picture, etc. So make sure you always double check before you submit your resume. So again, going back on topic, you have a gap between January 2018 and then August 2018. So there might be a gap like this. There might even be an even bigger gap where it's like 2016 instead of 2018, right? And I don't know why this does that. So 2016 and 2018. So if there's a gap that's huge like this, your manager will probably, or manager, boss, or interviewer will ask you, why is there a huge gap? Like, did you not work in between those times? Then you can probably tell them in the interview and say, um, yeah, I did work in between those times, and it was a different job, and you can tell them what job it was. And you can say, I left it out for this resume, mainly because I'm just showing experience so I can get this job. Or, um, of course, you're like looking for skills that you can apply to this specific job that you're aiming for, yes? So just say that. Um, so they will understand that you did work in between those times, but it was a different field that you were working on. So an example of that is I worked in the food industry. So my other job in between these two times was that I used to work at an ice cream shop. So, but I'm applying for an ESOL educator tutor experience. Do I really need to mention that I worked at an ice cream shop? So notice it's really out of place. So leave that out. Not unless you have a. So the only exception I can tell you about this is you will probably come across people who will ask you, or will not ask you, or you get to see that they have a number of different jobs listed here. They're not really relating to the job position. That the only time that's ever acceptable is only if you're an entry learner, like an entry worker. Sorry. Yes, if you are only a first time entry worker, then you are more than welcome to write all of your experience there, because you can tell them this is all the experience I have thus far, and I'm interested for this position to try it regardless. And by doing that, at least they know that you are a first time entry worker. With that being said, to identify you are an entry level worker, this has to change, and I'll show you a way that you can write it. So um, that will justify why you listed all of your jobs under the work experience, because this is either called your profile or it can also be called your objective. Some of the CVs or resumes will list out an objective here. So this is what this section is for, and I'll get more into that later. So again, going back here, um, if you are already an experienced person for this position, so this writing here should already tell you that you are an experienced person. My work experiences here will also tell you that I am an experienced person, and it is pertaining to my job position as a teacher. So here, of course, you can see English Los Angeles. You can see this one saying Fiverr. I was a teacher. I was a teacher. I was a tutor, and then I was a teacher. So as you can see, they're all very consistent towards the path that this is an education. but I do have more experiences in other industries if needed. So, another thing to point out in your work experience is that if you are currently working another job and it's not related to this position here, you will have to still write it down here. So let's say I am an ice cream server. If that job position is still holding true to today, like I'm still working for it, this needs to be listed. It has to be listed, even though it's not related to um, my experience as a teacher. Why? Because your boss needs to know if you have another job. Then that's very important, and you need to tell them, I work another job here in this site. That's why I'm picking up this next job, the one I'm applying for with you, for different days I'm not working that job. And they need to see that. So regardless if it's off topic, off the it's a different like experience or whatever, if it's current, that is the biggest key here. If it's current, it must be listed at all times. So here, the dates here I provided, I wrote that it's current, so that's why I'm listing it. This one's current because I'm listing it, and this is current. So as you can see, out of for all of my experiences, I'm still current. I'm currently working all of these positions. These ones I wrote on call here specifically, and I wrote freelance here for a reason, because I want people to know that although I work these positions, it's not going to be frequent. There's no established date. It's these two jobs here that I'm applying for. These two are very, very flexible, which is why I wrote freelance and I put on call here. So when they ask me, why do you need to write that? I'll say because my job is not a persistent. It's not persistent. It's not like a stable like weekly basis. It's just whenever they call me, then I have a job. But if not, it's just in the background floating somewhere. So that's why I wrote this. And despite that, make sure first that if you're doing a freelance job or on call, you actually did something about it before you write it in your resume. Don't just write it there just to show off and say, "Hey, I got another job." No, you need to show the skills, because the importance of work experience here is that this this entire portion here that you're writing, they want to know what you were responsible for. They want to know why you did this, etc. Whatever, you know. So there's that. I'm gonna go ahead and erase some stuff. So this bracket here that I'm providing, this is mainly the most important element in your work experience. There will be some times where there is a professional job, depending on the field, that you do not need to write this. It will depend on each job and company, because like for example, I had someone's resume where they're applying for an accountant, and they only listed that they worked at this facility, what was their position, and then the dates, and then the location of where it was, etc. And that was it. There was no necessity. I can't even talk today. There was no necessity to incorporate this because the job description is constantly the same thing. So you're applying for a specific accountant job. There's nothing new. You're doing the same thing every single time for each position. So there's no need for you to write about your description. That's the only time you don't need it, you know? So for this one, for my school one, I need to list it out because in each facility I worked at, I did different things, you know, and that's that. All right. So, making sure everything. Again, pay special close attention to the dates. This one is copying what I wrote already up here, where it's the most present time first, and I'm going backwards. And I'm doing exactly the same thing here, where I started. I don't know what happened in that store, like jumped up. Weird. Okay. So, like I said, pay attention to this, pay attention to that. Pay attention to the way you list out your times chronologically, whether it's the current one first and then going backwards, or something one of the earliest ones and then going forward on it. For your work experience, I think rule of thumb, you might want to have at least 4 to 5. I could technically list another one here, but I'm not. I don't have another job experience. I guess I could say to list there, so 4 is good enough for me. Um, so another one here I listed as volunteer because, like I said, there was this entire space here and I could technically fill it up. If I had the fifth job that I could list out here, then I could probably erase the volunteer position here. Um, so there's that. So on my volunteers, I wrote here I work as an American English at American English. That's the name of the server. I'm an ESOL instructor online on Discord. The language sloth, also an ESOL teacher online on Discord. So I also listed these ones are both current. And there's that. Now we're gonna finally get to the profile and objective, which is one of the most important things that your interviewer will read. Is that your profile and objective will tell you immediately whether you are or you aren't a worker, like if you are an entry level or if you're not. If you read this alone, what level does it tell you about me? Am I experienced or am I inexperienced? So I wrote certified TEFL TESOL instructor with 4 years of ESOL teaching and tutoring experiences in person and online, adept, astute, and detail oriented at designing personalized lesson plans, dedicated, patient, and passionate when working with students from various international backgrounds and English proficiency levels. So all of these I kept it very short, but these words are, as you can see, they're kind of high level words. They're very fancy because who uses the word adept and who uses the word astute in like real life? So in some cases I actually had to Google these words just to make it sound really cool on my paper. But that being said, I probably have to double check what I wrote was adept and astute. Um, because I don't use them in my vocabulary when I talk or interact with people. Of course, I don't remember what the meaning is, but if I keep using the word, of course, it will register in my head. So adept basically is defined as very skilled or proficient at something, and then astute means having or showing an ability to accurately assess situations or people and turn this into one's advantage. So I really like the word astute because that means if I know your weakness when it comes to grammar, I can help you change it into a strength. And by doing so, you become a better English learner or speaker, etc. So that's why these two words are very valuable to me, and I decided to incorporate that. I wrote here that I can personalize lesson plans if needed, and then dedicated, patient, and working. These are important too because it tells the interviewer what kind of teacher I am when I work with students, and I tell them by mentioning that I have various international backgrounds. That means I work with a lot of different people from different parts of the world online on that part, and also some of them in person because we have a lot of exchange students on my campus. And then here I also wrote various international backgrounds and English proficiency levels. So from saying various, I'm indicating international backgrounds and also proficiency level. So word choice is very important when you're also writing your profile objective. So try to keep it short. Don't write me a paragraph. Actually, no, a paragraph, not, yeah, a paragraph is fine, but nothing more than that. So as I put 1 period, 2 period, 3. So in total, I have written only 3 sentences. So this is a little bit less than a paragraph. Paragraphs are usually 3 to 5 or 3 to 8. I don't know how long you want to write it, but try to do at least 3 sentences or 5 sentences and less. It looks better that way because we're not here to read an essay. Um, oops, my bad for that. Now, as I mentioned before, when we were looking at the profile objective, this tells you I am an experienced teacher. Why? Because I mentioned 4 years. And I also mentioned I'm certified. So a lot of companies that are looking for ESL teachers, so I'll use mine as an example, are looking for people who have a TEFL certificate and a TESOL certificate. So for me specifically, I have both of them. And by saying that, it shows, okay, wow, this person stands out because she has both of the certificates. She knows what she's doing. She has 4 years of teaching experience and tutoring experiences in person and online. Okay, that shows a lot of my character that I can handle online teaching and in person teaching. I have experience with education, so that makes me stand out more a lot from people. And then the fact that it shows that I can personalize a lesson plan shows that I'm a teacher who knows how to create things like how to approach your problems and how I can help you build up as a student learner. And then this also shows here that I am someone who has worked with this field of people, right? So by seeing that to someone, to an interviewer reading my resume, they'll say, wow, this person is so experienced. We definitely want her on board. So that's what you're trying to do is sell yourself to be someone who stands out from the last person. And also, if you have any questions, you guys are more than welcome to type in the classroom A, or you guys can um, just what's the word for it? Yeah, so either type in classroom A, or you can go ahead and unmute yourself and speak if needed. Okay, so let me go ahead and continue the lesson. Um, okay, so how do you write this as an entry level, right? I used to go with one phrase, one speech all the time because I was like I was super new to all of this stuff, so I didn't know how to write it. So let's say I'm a first timer and I don't have any of these experiences. So the first thing you want to let your hiree know, and I don't know what's happening because I think it's acting up. Okay, my mouse is being weird right now, so sorry guys. So let's say you're an entry level. Type here and type in entry level something, right? Um, so how I'm gonna say this is entry level something period, and then something something something. So let me tell you what the something somethings are. So for the time being, I'm going to give you an example. If you are a college graduate, if you are a current university or college student, you can write it here. So I can say entry level English um, education major. I could even put undergraduate major. Looking to work at, so I'm going to give an example. Let's say the English Promenade because this is my business. Looking to work at the English Promenade as an ESOL instructor. Yeah, you see this? What just happened? All right. So what I just did was I wrote entry level English education undergraduate major looking to work at the English Promenade as an ESOL instructor. So that's literally all you can write about. That's it as an entry level. So you can do that, you can leave it as that. That's totally fine. It's acceptable because it shows me that you are in a career that you were applying for in your undergraduate major and applying to a job, the name of the job here, and then the position that you're entering for or applying for, right? That's it. Pretty straight to the point. Um, if you have anything that you can brag about, you can say, like, for example, if you have prior experience of tutoring, for example, you can say experienced uh, ESL tutor working at the California State University here, Long Beach, for 3 years. So you can say that, for example, experienced ESL tutor working at the California State University Long Beach. So at least you have some experience to talk about here on your job profile or objective here. You can write that if you feel like it, but you don't have to. I don't think it's mandatory. If you want to also incorporate your personality, which is what I did the first time, was saying adept, astute, organized, tutor when providing assistance with assignments. So that's it, right? So I gave you a little background. I'm experienced as an ESL tutor. Let's see, yeah, experienced ESL tutor, working at this location for how many years, and I wrote my personality. So do mention a little bit of your personality of who you are there by saying that you are this kind of person when working with people, etc. But however, like I said, you don't have to mention it. It's completely up to you. But the only thing I encourage about is just mention about your personality a little bit. Are you organized? Are you on time? Are you punctual? Are you helpful? Are you friendly, etc.? You can write all that if you'd like. But the main point is you're trying to sell yourself, right? So that's what it looks like as an entry level um, applier. And then again, like I mentioned earlier, if you don't have enough work experiences, that's okay. Include volunteer hours if you have any. If not, the best experience I can say is that I had worked with someone who doesn't have experiences at all. Try to mention what clubs you are on campus or what classes that you are active in as a club or as an extracurricular activity. Like, for example, I did show choir when I was in high school. I would mention it here that I'm a team player because or I was a team player. I have a leadership position, and I'm creative because my job during my time as a student in choir was we did have this leadership board that the teacher had for students to help with performing, and I was a secretary in my position there. And what I did as a secretary slash historian, which is a photographer, is to assist the students or like the other cabinets members if needed. If they're short staffed or whatever, I'll help them. But I'm someone who mainly focuses on photography, so I take the pictures of everyone's performance. I upload video edits for the school to check out and watch during announcements. I create the end of the year um, school yearbook. So that's what I do in my position in that school. And by even though it's not a real job, the fact that I can mention that as a work experience, that says something. Because the real value for work experience is what did you do? What skills can you show us? And what experiences can you also add into our company? That's all they're really looking at. So if you have anything like that, even though it's unrelated, it's not a real job experience, you can list that as a work experience. You're not paid, but still, you got skills that you can incorporate there. And trust me, anything you ever did in life, there is a work experience you can write into your resume. You can even say that you're like well accustomed. You're with using the computer. You know how to create a website. If you can do that, you know how to code. If you remember doing like Tumblr or DeviantArt, or if you heard of those sites platforms, I used to do coding there just to make my website look even cooler. You know, those count as skills because you actually went out of your way to try to do that, etc. If you ever had to babysit like maybe a relative, you can even write that as a work experience because what did you do? You babysat someone, you probably got paid for it, probably not as a and just did it out of a favor, doesn't matter, but that still counts as a work experience. So you have some familiarity and you have some responsibility already listed out for you. You just have to see it from a different angle. Cool. So now we are on the next two here. This is going to be your awards section. If you have any awards worth bragging about, like I said, that was similar to your education here. Please brag. Brag as much as you can about yourself, so the competition can slim down and the company will choose you. So when it comes to awards section here, you want to brag about what is working for you, what works with you, etc. Let me see. There you go. I figured like the eyes are being weird because I zoomed in. So for the awards, you want to make sure it does separate itself. So notice the structure of this paper or this on my resume. I listed out something in black tab, not black tab, bolded, just so it can stand out. So these are like the headliner, and then of course every details underneath it. So same thing here for the award. It's up to you whether you want to space it out. You don't have to, but if you want to, just so it looks nicer and cleaner, then you're more than welcome to do that. Um, so I think it looks nicer this way. So I might fix my original paper later. Um, so yeah, fix it like this. If not, you don't have enough space, then you can go ahead and squish them all together if needed. But as usual, make sure you headline it, that it's important to know how to design it. This is like a manual design. I decided to go with it this way. You can mention it. Um, let's see. You can mention it. I probably should fix it. It doesn't really matter. So for my words here, it doesn't really matter how I did it because I had a headline that I was on the dean's list. I was on the president's list for my academics. So I listed that I started in 2016 then it was out of order, went to spring 2017, fall 2018, different dates here. That's okay if you don't list it out in chronological order here. That's fine. Um, I did my best to keep it in an orderly fashion. I should probably just move this and move it up here just so I can maintain that cohesion with chronological order. I should probably fix it on my real paper too. Um, so, with that being said, try to keep a chronological order if you can, but if not, it's okay because, like these two are different years. It started at a different time. Like, President's Award could have been the very last one because it started in 2015 and in 2020. So if you want to switch these two, then you're more than welcome to. No one's gonna hit you hard on that because I mean, just the fact that you have a number of how many times you've gotten the same award is already impressive enough as itself. And then seeing that you have a certificate for a program is okay too. Um, so a lot of the times is that whenever you mention that you got a certificate, you want to mention where you got it from. So for me, I got it from Teachaway, the international house at the University of California, Berkeley. And then I added the year. August 2020 was the day, was the month I received it. You don't have to give a specific date. That's up to you. No one really cares, to be honest. But if you want to mention the date when you got it exactly, that's up to you. Um, so, like I said, I'm trying to maintain some sort of chronological order going backwards, and that's fine. And then, of course, you have your skills here, which is probably the easiest portion here. So finally, which is your most important, besides like I mean, all of these are very very important that you should keep noted. But one of the most important is how do they know who this person is? Like you can have all of these achieving and wonderful things about yourself, but without a contact and saying who you are, you're practically screwed. Like, how are they going to contact you? They see your face, but they're not going to go out of the way and hunt you online and say, we need to get this person on our team. No. If you forget to put your name and your contact information, then they're not going to look, they're going to pass on you and give the job to someone else. So please don't forget to mention a contact information. So for the time being, for privacy's purposes, because I am live streaming this, I am, and I will post this on Instagram, not Instagram, YouTube. So I don't want you guys to call me. So these are false. Some of these are false information. Some of them are real. This one is definitely real. So if you're interested to see more about me, I don't care. Go for it. Here, this is a real email for like my business. This one's a fake number, so please don't try. And I hid what city I'm in for the time being, but I am in California. But whenever you mention your location, you have to mention where you're from. So I would put my city, comma California. So city, comma California. And then I provide my phone number so they have easy access of calling me. I give them my email in case they prefer to contact me via email, then they can copy paste this or click it. Because anyways, this PDF file, as long as it's digital, it's interactive, so they should have access to email you if needed. And then if they are really curious about me, a lot of resumes lately have been adding a website that people can get to know you. So everyone always uses LinkedIn. Not unless you are a creative artist. So let's say you are a photographer or you are an artist and you post your stuff online. So as far as I know, a lot of my artist friends, they like to create their own website and they post like a portfolio of their work. So what they would do is like keep the website there and then they would link their portfolio website to the resume so that when people are hiring them, they get to check out what their skills are, what did they create, etc. So a lot of artists do that. Um, I don't really see there's anything that's the same for um, other fields, but as far as your creative background, you most likely will do that. But as for everyone else, just stick to LinkedIn. I wouldn't recommend using your Facebook because who wants to show your cringy younger self and their post in a professional environment? And that's practically, and I pretty much I just disagree with the whole idea of sharing your Facebook in general. Um, yeah, so that's everything you need to know the ins and outs of a CV or resume. So, as far as I know, there's two difference. There might be a difference. It's just the name of it. Some people call it in the international backgrounds, especially they call it CV, but in America we call it a resume. Um, it might also be a word difference in British versus American, where people say CV or resume. General rule of thumb in America, at least I hope. But as far as I know, when I talk to people around me, they always say resume. Have a resume ready. Um, but when I was abroad in Indonesia, they say get your CV ready, and I'm like CV. I have no idea what a CV is, but it's a resume. So honestly, there's no difference. It's just a different name to call them. So if you hear CV or if you hear resume, doesn't matter. It's totally fine. Does anyone have any questions for me? Feel free to unmute yourself and ask, or feel free to type. Doesn't matter. So that's what my CV looks like, or resume, whatever. But yeah, designing this was really difficult. If you're curious about how it looked like before, I'll show you. So this the structure here. I'll just type it here. So go ahead and type your question. You're more than welcome to do that. I'm just gonna show you how terrible the idea was. So if I could show you the entire design of this thing, this monstrosity, and why it took me 10 hours to do it, it's because if you mess around with this and you delete something, it will move everything, including the pictures in the background. This picture here was terrible too because it would always like disappear off screen or whatever. It was such a painstaking like it was a painstaking time creating this, but I had all the information ready and I had to rewrite everything. Um, so yeah, it was painful for me. Uh, as a final note as well for the CV or resume, if you can keep yourself like one document where you list everything. So save all of these, save all of everything that you wrote about on a separate document. I have my own personally. So it dates all the way back to 2014 when I first worked as a poll worker. Don't get this wrong. I was only 14 or 15 or 16 at the time. Poll working means for the elections. So I wasn't a pole dancer or anything. I was just someone who was getting election like votes and etc. And I skipped one day of school for that. That counted as a work experience, by the way. So yeah, that it goes all the way back to that time. So it's been like 6 years since I've been working actively, and make sure you keep all of them because you never know when there's gonna come a time where you can get to a point in time where you're like, oh, I have enough job experiences now. I can be selective of which jobs I can mention in my resume. And when you get to that point, that's when you start to show yourself as someone who's um, experienced in the field. Right. So Jean wrote, could I write the languages I speak on the skill sections? Yes, you are more than welcome to. If you would like to mention specifically what languages you can speak, that's great. That's awesome. Like people would love that. They can say you're Spanish, fluent Spanish speaker. Cool. You can speak English. That's cool. You can speak Japanese. That's cool. You can mention that if you'd like. If you want to, let's say you were trying to save space, you can list it out as multilingual. So that's why I left it like this because there's no way I'm gonna write all five languages that I know and have room for everything else there that I created, because it's gonna destroy the format as far as I know. So if I wrote more stuff, oh, actually, yeah, I can probably write more if I felt like it. I could write more if I felt like it, but for the time being, I don't want to because as you can see, this is the limit for this box. If I write more, it'll disrupt it. This will move to the next page. This will move to the next page, and it was such a pain to just move everything around, etc. So there you go. That's your resume. Yeah, awesome. So that's that. And yeah, so if you want to mention specifically, go right ahead. If not, just leave it as multilingual because regardless, your boss, your interviewer is going to ask you what languages do you know. They will still ask you. Cool. So let's see. Next Friday, I am thinking of teaching cover letters, this time continuing off the business topic. And I just want to say thank you for coming to class today and for participating and watching me explain how to make a CV or resume. And I'm sorry if I went off track a lot. I just think it'd be great. So just make sure if you ever feel like you're in doubt of your resume, have someone check it. You can post it somewhere here in the group too, where I can check it out and see. Okay, I'll mark up your paper, so make sure you don't submit that. I'll mark it up and write notes on the side and be like, okay, this part here needs to be fixed because of this reason, etc. Yeah, and that should be it. Yes, thank you for coming to class today, John. I appreciate you. And I'm gonna go ahead and close the stream and make sure everything's good. I hope I had everything. Yep. All right, thank you so much. I'm gonna go ahead and close the classroom, and I will see you again for our next lesson on Friday. Bye bye.